Good morning. It is Thursday, June the 10th, and this is The Drill. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host and the only true conservative in the United States today. I'm going to be reading the Daily Declaration for Spiritual Warfare. Then we will do the Pledge of Allegiance, the Star-Spangled-Banner. Then I have a clip from, I think his name's Forrest Tucker, from Fox News, and a 7-minute clip from him that I will comment on. And then I'm going to be reading some more covert emotional manipulation techniques. All that when I get back. I will deliver you from unforgiveness. I delight in showing my compassion and mercy to you. My child, I have pardoned all your iniquities and do not retain my anger forever. I promise to cast all your sins into the depths of the sea. I loved you so much that I gave my only begotten Son, that if you only believe in him, you would not perish but have everlasting life. Therefore, follow my instruction to give the same forgiveness to others that I have given to you. Do not harbor anger, resentment, and bitterness in your heart against another. Do not let a spirit of unforgiveness take control. I've delivered you from the sin of unforgiveness. Therefore, rise up and comfort those who need you to offer your forgiveness and compassion to them. Reaffirm your love to them, lest Satan should take advantage of you. Prayer declaration. I've been delivered from the spirit of unforgiveness. I am no longer bound by spirits of pride, hurt, rejection, fear, anger, wrath, sadness, depression, discouragement, grief, bitterness, and unforgiveness against others. I have been set free by the love and mercy of God, who has forgiven all my iniquities, released me to show the spirit of love and mercy to others. I will walk free of unforgiveness from this time forward and will never again be filled with unforgiveness. Amen. And let's see. So now we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. And now the Star-Spangled Banner. Thank you. That was gorgeous. I could listen to that all day, every day. And I do the Daily Declaration for Spiritual Warfare to remind myself and you that ultimately this is going to be a battle between good and evil in this country, and the Pledge of Allegiance and Star-Spangled Banner to remind us that only conservatives can be patriots and patriotic. So actually right now I'm going to do a little quick change of pace here, and I'm going to go ahead and do the 30 emotional one on the segment from the 30 emotional manipulation techniques. Number 17 is lying. Lying is the granddaddy of manipulation tactics. Purposeful manipulators lie frequently and without remorse and have an arsenal of lying styles to work from. Others may feel remorse but will lie anyway to get what they want. Manipulators will say anything to get results. Many are expert liars who lie convincingly, frequently, and with impunity. Basically, a lie is a false statement deliberately presented as the truth, but there are many other ways to lie that go far beyond simply making a blatantly false statement. Those statements often work, though, because we can't believe that someone we trust would look us in the eye and tell us such a brazen, bald-faced lie. Lies of omission are one of the more subtle forms of lying. Instead of making a deceptive statement, the liar withholds the truth. For example, a manipulator may not tell you he's married if he thinks it would stop you from becoming involved with him. He didn't tell you he wasn't married, he just didn't tell you that he was. Vagueness is another subtle form of lying. When you confront a manipulator about something, they respond, but their answer is lacking in details. They count on you not to probe them for more information. Another way that can be described is equivocation, where you ask a general question, you get a specific answer, or ask a specific question and you get a general answer. Sounds like they're answering the question, but they're really not. An especially effective way to lie is to hide it in the middle of a litany of truths. Liars lie to avoid taking responsibility or to get you to believe that they want what do they want you to believe in order to get something they want. 18, invalidation. Invalidation is rejecting, diminishing, ignoring, judging, or making fun of someone's feelings. Invalidation is a highly detrimental form of emotional manipulation. Unfortunately, it happens all too often. There even seems to be an epidemic of it in society. People invalidate others for a variety of reasons, sometimes purposefully and sometimes not. An abuser will use invalidation as a tool of manipulation and as a weapon. Others who invalidate may be short on empathy. Some may feel uncomfortable with your pain or feel powerless to do anything to help. Others are simply jealous. Examples of invalidating statements made in response to you expressing your feelings or talking about a difficult situation. You should be ashamed of yourself for feeling that way. It could be worse. How many times have we heard that one? You shouldn't feel that way. Just don't worry about it. Get over it. How many times have we heard that? Stop taking everything so personally. Another one that's frequent. Lighten up. I've heard that a dozen times at least. You must be kidding. It can't be that bad. You're just tired. It's not worth getting upset over. I hear that one, particularly from the left, who they're supposedly interested in peace, and so they don't want people arguing with one another, and so they'll intervene and start telling each party it's not worth it. Just drop it. I'm sure she didn't mean that. Time heals all wounds. Every cloud has a silver lining, and you can choose to be happy. It's frustrating not feeling understood and not getting the emotional support you reached out for. Invalidation makes you wonder if there's something wrong with you for feeling the way you do. It undermines self-confidence because it causes self-doubt. This, in turn, diminishes self-esteem. Invalidation will be explored in more depth in a later chapter. 19. Charm. Quote, they know what makes us laugh, what makes us fearful, what excites us, what turns us off, and above all, what makes us vulnerable, unquote. George Simon, PhD psychologist and expert in character disturbances. Skilled manipulators excel at hiding their true character and presenting themselves as charming and seductive. If you think you would never fall for it, think again. And we see examples of that all over the places, particularly when it comes to consequences for actions. The people that present themselves as being very charming aren't held to account as often as people who are not. All of us turn on the charm, put our best foot forward in a new relationship, but manipulators use charm to advance a hidden agenda. Manipulators use charm as a way to disarm you and gain your trust. They make you feel interesting, liked, valued, and appreciated. Skilled manipulators are socially intelligent con artists, adept at expressing interest in you and your welfare, and at opening up to you and appearing vulnerable. How can you tell the difference between benign charm and malicious charm? Listen to your gut instincts. According to Dr. George Simon, on his website, manipulativepeople.com, he writes, psychopaths and other disturbed character types tend to exude a superficial charm or glibness in their interpersonal manner. It often goes unnoticed as the huge red flag it is, but it can be detected if you know just what to look for. Now, a quick comment on this. Dr. George Simon contributes to emotional manipulation overall. He writes here, again, psychopaths and other disturbed character types. What does that mean? Tend to exude a superficial charm or glibness in their interpersonal manner. It often goes unnoticed as the huge red flag it is. Now, he's making a neutral statement. He's not making a value statement. Notice when he says other disturbed character types instead of abnormal. That's what's missing here in this particular statement. Psychologists and psychiatrists are useless, absent normal, some type of a norm, as a yardstick or a measuring stick. If you're going to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, it should be understood on the face of it that you're there because you want to be either you want to become normal or you want to be restored to normality. So he's presenting this by presenting these disturbed character types, is that what he calls? Yes. In that fashion, as neutral, he's shielding them from the consequences of their actions and thereby contributing to their... as a matter of fact, he may be end up being one of those disturbed character types. Let's see. The smoothness or social facility these individuals display is generally not matched by congruent and concomitant emotion. They may have a very easy way with words, but usually their smooth talk is not accompanied by any emotion that matches what they're saying or that can be sensed and felt by others as genuine. Still, you can easily doubt your gut instincts thinking they must be genuine and allow yourself to be unduly swayed. Once a malicious charmer disarms your gut instincts, you're basically defenseless. 20. Intentional. No, as a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. And again, so beware of, we used to have in this country, again, a sense of normal. One of the first things that the left got rid of in our culture was the word normal and the concept of normality, that there is a normal behavior. They didn't get rid of it by proving it doesn't exist, or that it is in some way, shape, or form malicious. They got rid of it with questions by probing and getting conservatives to try to prove the negative. And by doing that, then the conservatives, again, get into a position where they realize, I can't prove this, I can't prove the negative on this issue of normality, therefore it must not exist. Okay, and so then the conservatives quit talking about normal. And the lefties go ahead and just start, this is the way they neutralize things. So now they can come in and exhibit all kinds of bizarre behavior, and you're not going to say anything about it. So let's see. When I come back, I'm going to go ahead and play the clip of Tucker Carlson. That's what I'm talking about here. And he had some interesting things to say about determinism, although he didn't realize he was talking about determinism when I come back. Thank you. So, yes, I got this clip yesterday. I think it was on Twitter. So, and it's about, he's talking about Kamala Harris. She goes to Central America, and again, it ends up being deterministic, but he doesn't realize, he doesn't call it what it is, which is determinism. So I'll go ahead and play the clip. It's 10 minutes long, and then I'm going to go ahead and comment on it.
being Kamala Harris, you take your first big trip south of the border to what we used to call the developing world. And you're pretty excited about it because you know that as a licensed person of color, all the other people of color you're going to meet will be thrilled to see you. That's how it works in the people of color community. They've got so much in common that getting along is effortless. It's one big happy community. You're oppressed, they're oppressed, you'll be friends. If you're Kamala Harris, that's what you've always assumed. But it turns out you were wrong. You finally get to Guatemala and you discover that actually the people there detest you. They could care less about all the glass ceilings you say you've shattered. They're not impressed by your political science degree or the fact that you once chaired the Black Law Students Association in college. They find you phony and annoying. In fact, they strongly prefer the orange man you replaced. At least he was funny. So they tell you to buzz off and go home. Get out of here and don't come back. Imagine how that must feel if you're Kamala Harris. Quite the psychic blow. So you can't really blame the unnamed White House staffer who swooped in to save the day, hiring a fake Univision reporter to suck up to Kamala Harris and make her feel better. And we can't prove that happened, though it does make sense. We do know that Univision denies that the lady who told Harris, "I voted for you," at a press conference, had ever worked for the network. So whoever she was, she made Kamala Harris's day. "Thank you," Harris replied gratefully. And then, her spirits raised, Kamala Harris returned to immigration policy. What is her immigration policy exactly? Simple. Now that we've solved every domestic problem and turned this country into a peaceful, happy utopia, it's time to take all the money we've got left over and give it to Central America. Only by doing that can we solve the, quote, root causes of immigration. Watch.
What we must do to address the root causes of migration, to address the root causes. The issue of root causes is not going to be solved in one trip. To address the root causes as though it's something that can be dealt with overnight. To feel the effects of those root causes on our shores. And the root causes are based on the problems and the challenges that people are facing in countries like Guatemala, which is why I was there. We have to address the root causes.
There's a lot of root causes. So what are these root causes? Well, they include climate change, of course, violence against women, Uber shortages in Midtown over holiday weekends, and the patriarchy. Once we solve those, we're done. We've solved the problem. So it's simple. Make Latin America perfect. That's all we need to do. It shouldn't be hard. People like Kamala Harris have a demonstrated record of dramatically improving everything they touch. Take a trip on Bay Area rapid transit sometime and you'll see what we mean. Which is not to say that transforming Honduras into Monaco will be effortless. A project like that could take weeks. But no matter how long it takes, we have a moral responsibility to do it. Because as Sandy Cortez learned during her recent undergraduate days at Boston University, we're the ones who made Central America crappy in the first place. It's our fault. Everything is our fault, and especially this.
What we, as a country, what the United States has not done is actually own up to the fact that we have contributed to regime change, destabilization, and interventionist foreign policy that has contributed to these awful conditions throughout Latin America. And we cannot, as a country, no matter who it is, continue to show up in Latin America and say that this is their fault or that they are to blame.
Now wait a second, Sandy. Recognizing that you were an international studies major, but still, some of us are wondering, wasn't it Spain that brutally colonized Latin America? So shouldn't Madrid be kicking into the Reconstruction Fund here? Or is European Spain now considered a nation of color and therefore blameless? We'll have to check with a BU professor on that and get back to you. But in the meantime, here's an idea, kind of a random one. Why don't we fix the United States first? We had a conversation with, of all people, the president of El Salvador not so long ago, and he made that point. We are in his country shooting a documentary on MS-13 and immigration. During that interview, the president pointed out that actually it might make more sense for people on, say, the south side of Chicago to apply for refugee status in El Salvador, not the other way around, because it's less dangerous in El Salvador. The United States has seen a dramatic increase in crime and in murders in cities across the country. What would your advice be to leaders in the U.S.?
To be tough on crime. Actually, now, before El Salvador was the murder capital of the world. Like 3 years ago, we were
Yes.
the murder capital of the world. Now, crime has been reduced by 75%, violent crimes. And so now it is more dangerous to live in Chicago, for example, than to live in El Salvador.
We'll show you more from that. It's on our Originals episode on Fox Nation. It's about how El Salvador tamed MS-13. But the president's point, what you just saw, is not crazy. It's not just a talking point. It's actually true. According to the numbers, El Salvador is in fact safer than many major American cities. El Salvador, safer than Baltimore, for example. In 2018, Baltimore had 51 murders per 100,000 people. The same year, San Salvador had a smaller number, 50 per 100,000. San Salvador was long the most dangerous city in the hemisphere. Baltimore, by the way, also has a higher murder rate than Guatemala, Honduras, and Afghanistan. So why don't people who live in Baltimore have a right to apply for asylum in Central America? Thanks to good leadership, El Salvador is getting safer. Meanwhile, thanks to people like Kamala Harris, our country is becoming far more dangerous.
From vicious attacks in broad daylight to cold-blooded murders by night, another summer of sin is already underway in New York City. Shootings year-to-date are up 81%. This weekend alone, 27 people were wounded in 22 shootings, including a Manhattan federal prosecutor hit by a stray bullet in the face while having dinner at a restaurant. Bullets went flying in New Jersey this weekend, where a birthday party turned into a mass shooting. 14 partygoers were shot, 2 died. Community members blame gang wars. Chicago had a worse weekend, where 9 people were killed and 38 injured by gunfire. The victims include a 15-year-old boy shot in the head while sitting on a front porch.
So it really is getting more dangerous. It's not your imagination. And by the way, murder may be the only event in human life that the U.S. government tracks accurately. It's kind of hard to hide the body most of the time. So we know for a fact that major American cities saw a massive increase in homicides. Overall, 33% increase in homicides last year. And that's continuing this year. And that leads some people to wonder why Kamala Harris is promising to rebuild Central America rather than America. One of the people wondering is a man called Andrew Holmes.
My message goes out to the president, goes out to everybody, mayor and everybody. Come, get on the grounds, do what we got to do. We need them to come out on the streets here. You know, you fly that Air Force One over there to take care of people overseas and don't take care of the United States, don't take care of Chicago. And the same thing with all elected officials. Come on out here on these streets. These streets are full of blood.
Well, yeah, that's not a partisan talking point. It's true. How can they continue to ignore what's happening in Chicago? And not just in Chicago, a lot of places. The formerly peaceful city of Knoxville, for example, Tennessee. Knoxville is now on track for its deadliest year in history, even worse than last year, which had set the previous record. So what happened to Knoxville? Well, the same thing that always happens to places that decline. Terrible leadership, neoliberal nonsense, frenzies of guilt-fueled professional class self-hatred, elected morons like India Kincannon. India Kincannon is somehow the mayor of Knoxville. She recently announced that she would personally join in painting a BLM mural. Quote, "I understand now more than ever it is not okay just to stand up to justice inequity," she told reporters. "We must all be actively anti-racist." Anti-racist. So what are the practical consequences of so-called anti-racism? Well, we know, we see it all around us, the consequences are more misery and more race hatred. No question about that. Ask your kids what they're learning in school. Behind the scenes, this ideology means fewer and less effective police. Crime spikes, drug addicts living in the park, children murdered in drive-bys. That's all still happening across the country. In fact, it's happening more, but getting less coverage. You rarely hear the phrase defund the police these days. Why? Because normal people of all colors, of all political registrations, normal people found that slogan terrifying and deranged, because it is. So Democrats told their troops to pick a new euphemism. But the idea didn't disappear. It's still with us. Here's Congresswoman Cori Bush of St. Louis explaining that police are the real threat to public safety.
I understand that people don't like the slogan. I get that, but I don't like death. I don't like black death. I don't like to keep seeing my people die at the hands of police and nothing is happening. I don't like that. So I think I can't care about people's feelings. I can't care about, if you like what I'm saying or not. My people are dying, and that's what I have to look at.
My people. Where does talk like that bring us in the end? Nowhere good. But in point of...
So what he's doing is he's analyzing Kamala Harris's trip, and he's buttressing his analysis with AOC, with the president of El Salvador. President of El Salvador was the one that was saying that it's safer in El Salvador than it is in Chicago, and then with the other people that he mentioned, buttressing his arguments. But he's missing something vital, something important. Actually, he's probably missing, I'd say, two things here that are absolutely vital if we really want to put an end to this crap. Okay, and that is that if we don't, then we end up playing whack-a-mole. But the key here is determinism. And we know that Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris, was getting into or using determinism because she used two code words: root, cause. She used it over and over and over and over again. Root cause, root cause, root cause. So this is called framing and framing the argument. And you need to be able to, as Dr. Lakoff has said, you need to be able to find a word or a phrase that's going to, quote, resonate, unquote, with your audience. So root cause, everybody's heard of root cause, heard of that term. So it's not a head scratch or anything. It fits in smoothly with our normal way of thinking. But so here you are. But what she's promoting basically is determinism. But she's not going to go out and say, okay, the reason we got to figure out the chain of events for immigrants and people that are fugitives in this country, that are the people that come to flood the border because nobody has any free will. That's what determinism is. It's a Marxist notion. No one has free will. Everybody's behavior is determined by powers beyond their control. So then she would say, we got to find out what the powers are that are motivating or controlling these immigrants and forcing them to rush our border. When we find out what those powers are, then we can step in and nix their power and thereby solve the problem. It's also not just deterministic, it's perfectionistic, because the idea, again, is to solve the problem permanently. So if we get to the root cause, it's the old idea with a weed. You cut the weed off at the surface, it's going to grow back. You pull the weed out by its roots, it never grows back. Okay, so this is, again, with the left. They're always perfectionists. This is why they get nothing done, and that they make and create more problems than they ever solve. So, but again, she can't go out and do this determinism and be honest and say, this is determinism, a big case of determinism, because it invites, she has to explain what it is, then she's going to have to endure arguments, from various talking heads and other people that are going to say that determinism is a bunch of BS, which it is. Determinism is dead. It's contradictory, and as an idea, it's just dead. So what does she do? She comes up with and reframes the argument as root cause. And again, we've all heard the adage about the roots and weeds. Cut the weed off at the top, the weed grows back, pull it out by the roots, and it never comes back. So that's going to resonate with the listeners. The other thing that she has to do to sell this is to act as if. Okay, because determinism is bizarre. It's not normal. It is not an accurate reflection of reality. So her job is to sell determinism by acting as if it is an accurate reflection of reality. She has to say it boldly and with confidence and repeat it over and over again. And again, this is important because if you just simply address her, she comes out and says the root cause of, let's say, a Latin American immigration to this country is poverty. because frequently that's what they do. The left, they'll say, oh, it's poverty. Everything's a function of poverty. So the rich country, United States, we have to pony up money to give to the Latin Americans so that they can make their people richer, and when their people get richer, they'll no longer have a desire to come to the United States. Problem solved. And so let's say she goes ahead and in the deterministic fashion, she gets down to the point where she says the root cause is poverty. Then, the idea again is to then solve that problem and then eliminate immigration, migration, whatever issues permanently. So we'll have come up with the perfect solution, the perfect answer. Instead of saying the goal here is to reduce, because there's no way we're going to get perfection. It just doesn't exist. People are going to come to our borders. Some of them are going to try to get into the country illegally. They're not going to bother trying to get a green card, because that's what the issue is here, getting a green card. And so, no matter what we do, there's going to be people that are going to do that, because as a matter of fact, people do have free will. And they do decide and change their minds. But some people decide to do things legally. Some people decide to do things illegally. The best that we can do is try to reduce the number of people that are coming to the border, as Donald Trump did. President Trump didn't eliminate illegal immigration. He reduced it significantly and brought it to a point where it was manageable by our border, by the border control people, law enforcement on the border. So again, determinism, and if you go after the idea with determinism is get to and understand and tell people determinism is dead. And this argument, the whole argument, it's used for all kinds of things. Determinism is used as a way of rationalizing laws against tobacco. It's rationalizing laws to try to break up some kind of a mythical car culture. So they use it to be able to say gasoline prices should be higher, so we can get rid of this car culture that we have. That the only reason we have automobiles and gasoline and oil and all that is because of a car culture that's promoted by powers beyond our control. And who are those? The oil companies and the automobile companies. So once you understand and know how to see where determinism, this promotion of determinism comes in, and you know with the words root cause, then you just simply throw the bullshit flag by telling them determinism is dead. Otherwise, what you're going to end up doing is playing whack-a-mole. For instance, with their foreign policy, they say Kamala Harris is going to come out and say we need to spend money in El Salvador to reduce illegal immigration. And then, of course, we can fight and yell and scream, no, we shouldn't spend money, or we shouldn't spend that amount of money. But the same thing's going to happen in Guatemala and in Nicaragua and other places, maybe South America or wherever else we're getting illegal immigrants, China perhaps. And so we're going to have to play a game of whack-a-mole. Every time they come up with this, we need to send money here or there, we're going to have to fight the battle over again. Whereas if we understand that the crux of the argument is determinism, the root of the argument, if you will, ironically enough, is determinism, then we just throw the bullshit flag and say determinism is dead. And that kills all of their arguments, especially as far as the border is concerned. Now we get to be sensible, realistic, redefine the problem, okay, or reframe it. And as a number one, the biggest problem with this has nothing to do with poverty. It has to do with drug cartels. And we know that with absolute certainty. The drug cartels are making millions and millions of dollars by charging people to take them to the United States and smuggle them in. And that we will significantly reduce illegal immigration if we can have the drug cartels and their smashed and their members put in prison. That's the way we're going to make significant headway. It won't be perfect. We'll still have illegal immigrants, but we won't have the kind of problem we're seeing now. Back in a minute. Thank you. That was a little bit of a tortured explanation. I'm going to have to work on providing a smoother explanation for all that, but I think I got the point across. Now, again, buy the book. You like the podcast? Buy the book. The Drill. It's on Kindle, and it costs $2.99. It's electronic only. There's no paperback version at this time. And this is the first edition. I'm working on the second edition, and so the book will expand and get into more details with every edition that I go ahead and release. And I'm planning on releasing a new edition every 6 months. So again, Kindle publishing. It's called The Drill, and $2.99. So until next time, be honest, be smart, be beautiful, and always remember that the left has no authority, no power, and they can't win.